Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Leslie. I create lifestyle videos. I'm a mom of two toddlers, 3 and 4. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about formula, about the formula shortage, breastfeeding, and breastfeeding tips. So that's what you can expect from this video. In my channel, you can find healthy grocery hauls, informational grocery hauls about all of these processed ingredients and what you should aim to buy organic, pasture raised, and what it's okay not to buy organic. In addition to that, I also share some day in the life videos where I share what my toddlers eat, what I eat in a day, as well as some healthy recipes. So if any of this content is of interest to you, please be sure to subscribe. Formula, it's not what is best for your baby. And of course, this is just my opinion. You should always check with your doctor, with a lactation consultant, your OBGYN, or your midwife. Let's just start with formula. By the way, this is a video that I had wanted to make since before I started YouTube. Part of the reason why I started YouTube is because I wanted to share all of my life experiences. I'm currently 35 and I feel like I have been through so many life-changing experiences that I think that sharing them would definitely help others. So far in my channel, I've kept it very lighthearted, so maybe I haven't shared as much, but I do plan to do so in the next few months. And so this video, especially because of the formula shortage, I think it's gonna come in handy for a lot of you. I know a lot of my viewers currently might not be breastfeeding, maybe just a handful of you. And if you are breastfeeding, then you might not really have a need for formula. I'm not a doctor. I am not a lactation consultant. I'm not a dietitian. So do check with any of these health professionals, but at the same time, I want to plant the seed to encourage you to do some research, because that is very, very important. And at the same time, when it comes down to health, you have to really learn to advocate for yourself, which is something that I will discuss in future videos. I have toddlers, so I try to spend my time wisely, and I didn't do much research as to why there's a formula shortage, but if I had to just take a wild guess, I'm sure it has to do with just everything that's going on in the world and that we've gone through in the last 2 years. There's a shortage for everything at this point, and everything is so expensive. But what I wanted to really discuss in this video is that you can successfully breastfeed your child. I had 3 pregnancies myself, 2 live births, and I was able to successfully breastfeed both of my children. My second child, whom I breastfed first, was not necessarily as successful, in my opinion. I think to the eyes of many people it was successful, but I feel that it wasn't, because I didn't get to breastfeed him as long as I wanted to. But by the time I had my 3rd child, I knew enough, and I was paired up with a fantastic lactation consultant, which actually that makes a huge difference. It's important to get someone who is really on your corner, someone who is really genuinely, without knowing you, really either loves their job or genuinely wants to help a new mom. Formula, despite popular belief, it's not what is best for your child. Your child was meant to be breastfed. Now, if you, for any reason, it could be because of health, it could be because of just personal choice, decide not to breastfeed your child and so choose to give a formula, that is perfectly fine too. I completely respect everyone and everyone's opinions, as well as everyone's choices. So I can't say anything else other than I respect what you do, and there is absolutely no shame in that. Every woman should have the right to pretty much raise their family as they feel that best meets their family's needs. Really, if you do the research, a formula is not what's best for your child, because formula, the majority of formulas are, if you look at the first ingredient, it's not milk, it's not whey, it's not powdered milk. It's usually some type of sugar, some type of synthetic ingredient, or some type of hydrogenated, highly processed, extremely inflammatory oil. Why? We live in a country like the United States, and these formulas are allowed and are normal to be, or are like the norm I'm not sure. Every single day I ask myself exactly that, and it boggles my mind. With my first live birth, I did have to supplement with formula. So I did breastfeed for 6 months, and then the remaining of the 6 months I just pumped, and I was able to feed him my breast milk, but I also had to supplement a lot. One, because my son Lucas ate a lot, but also because I didn't know how to successfully increase my breast milk supply. So I did have to supplement. I was supplementing with a formula. I'll leave it here. It's Earth's Best. At the time, it was the best that I could find and what I could afford, because I was going through these like crazy. And this is an organic formula. It is slightly better than all of the other formulas that are out in the market right now. And this Organic's Best is definitely an upgrade from all of the other popular brands. My son at 6 months started not wanting to take the breast. That was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, and I want to make sure that you don't make that mistake. That is normal, and that happens with children, with infants. They will have about a week or even 2 weeks. I've even read about infants going up to 2 weeks without wanting to take the breast. You should not give up, and you should definitely not think that because of that you can't offer them the breast anymore. You should continue pumping while your infant is not wanting to take the breast. This happens often when you are having to supplement with formula, because inevitably you're going to have to give it to them in a bottle. So they start to reject the breast. You should still keep pumping, and eventually they will take it. That was my biggest mistake. I just assumed that because he didn't take it for 3 days that he would never take it again. And I stopped trying to breastfeed him, and I super regret that. But that's okay. That was a big, huge learning experience. Also, another thing that happened with my first live birth is that the lactation consultant that I had at the time, I had zero clue about breastfeeding and nursing. All I knew is that you should drink a lot of liquids, but fluids, but also that you're supposed to have all of these special concoctions. Don't do it. And so this lactation consultant was pretty much not thorough at all, and she just pretty much gave me the basics, and I just did what I could to survive. Another mistake that I made is that I wasn't pumping every 2 hours for the first few months. I did not know that I needed to pump aggressively every 2 hours to ensure that I establish a healthy milk supply. And when I say healthy, I'm not referring to the quality of a milk, but I mean of the amount of milk that I was producing. So that's one of the things that I did differently with my third birth, or my third child, and I was able to breastfeed her successfully up until 1.5 years. And I only stopped for other reasons unrelated to my daughter not wanting to take the breast, or me not wanting to breastfeed her anymore. With her, I am so proud to say that I only needed 2 tins of powder milk, of formula. So again, the point of this video is to reiterate, don't be too sad that there's a formula shortage. Of course, I totally understand, and I want to be completely sympathetic to those women that for whatever the reason they cannot or choose not to breastfeed their babies, and there's this formula shortage and you don't know what to do. Well, I will leave some resources here in the description box. Everything that I'm giving you here is just a little bit more of food for thought. You should still do your own research and talk to someone in the medical profession to make sure that this information is accurate and that it is something that can work for you. I will also leave other resources and links of places where you can find some more information and encouragement to breastfeed your child. Now, with regards to supplementing with formula, like I said, formula is not what was meant to be fed to your child for the first year of its life. You can breastfeed your child up until, especially people who are vegan, really healthy, wholesome vegan diets, they do breastfeed their children until they are 2, because that is what has been proven and what has been found in research, that that's for how long your child can get the best nutrients out of your breast milk, is for the first 2 years of its life. If you didn't know, also vegan or plant-based milk, the majority of it has a bunch of gums and fillers. So you're not really drinking almonds or oats. You're drinking more water, fillers, and chemicals, unless you're buying a high quality plant-based milk. So just know that for the first 2 years of your child's life, you can give it breast milk and it will be completely enough and sufficient. Let me go back. There's a formula shortage. Like I said, I would highly encourage you to try to breastfeed your child as much as you can. But if you cannot do that, I would also really highly encourage you to look for a better formula. Just flip the back. I'll show you a couple of labels here of some popular formulas so that you can see the ingredients. And all of these ingredients are just bad for you as an adult, but definitely bad for such a small body. Towards the end of my breastfeeding journey with my daughter, my milk supply did drop a lot because I really cut back on pumping and nursing so much. And so because of that, my milk supply dropped. And so for 1 month, I did supplement with 2 tins of formula, but I ordered this formula. I believe I ordered it. I think it comes from Australia. It's called Loulouka, if I'm not mistaken. I'll leave it here. Sophia is almost 3 now. So this was 2 years ago. At the time, this was one of the best formulas in the market, but it wasn't sold here in the US. So I did have to order it. I'll also leave the link of where I was buying it from. It is definitely maybe $15 more per can of the regular, more popular brand formula, but also this can of formula is a lot smaller. So it's probably or really double the price. I understand that some of us cannot afford this. And if you can, then like I said, there is zero judgment here. Another thing that I was going to talk about is that, believe it or not, one of the more important things when you are breastfeeding and how you can increase your milk supply has to do with the pump that you use. That's another one of the things that I think made the biggest difference between nursing my son Lucas, which wasn't, my milk supply wasn't as I wish it would have been, where I was nursing Sophia, where my milk supply was nice and abundant and healthy, and it had this greenish color. If you know, you know. I think one of the things, like I said, is buying a good breast pump. That's one of the things that I did differently. When I was breastfeeding Lucas, I stuck to the breast pump. I'll leave the name here. I can't think of it right now, but I was sticking to the breast pump that I was given by the hospital where I birthed my children. This breast pump is not terrible. It is a breast pump that you can buy. I think it's $120 on Amazon. However, it is not the breast pump that will optimize, if that's even the right word, that will give you the best results and that will create the most milk for you. The breast pump, even if you're gonna strictly nurse, is still super, super important. Believe me, I would highly recommend the Spectra breast pump. That's what I use for Sophia. The suction is so strong. That is what actually helped increase my milk supply. A lot of these breast pumps you can buy used. I ended up selling mine to a friend for half of the price that I got it. And even though I used it for a year straight, this breast pump has worked for her, and I'm sure she can also resell it. I've known of people that have bought it from like a third owner and they still work. They're built to last forever. It is considered a hospital grade breast pump. So you definitely need a good breast pump, and you definitely need one of those bras that will hold the pumps. That's another thing. This is why I think this video is so important for some women, because I wish someone would have made this type of video or this video, or I would have watched a video like this before I gave birth to Lucas, because it would have helped me a ton. So I never had a pumping bra with Lucas. That was horrible because I was literally having to hold the pumps right here. I know. Maybe I know there's a lot of moms that watch me and you're probably thinking like, you're crazy. But yeah, believe it or not, I was that ignorant when it came down to breastfeeding and pumping. With Sophia, first question, the lactation consultant I had with Sophia was amazing. Like I said, nothing compared to the first one I had. I'm sure she was great too, but maybe she was lacking passion or whatever it may be. But I feel like I really didn't get enough information from her. And even a second consultant that I saw, when I did tell them when I went back with my son, I think like for his 3-day visit, I took him back and I did tell them that I was really struggling and I was in a lot of pain when I was breastfeeding my son. And even that lactation consultant didn't really give me enough for someone so new like me to be able to successfully breastfeed, other than just like tell me how I should position my son. The lactation consultant that I saw with Sophia, that was the first thing she asked me. She said, do you have a pumping bra? And I said, oh yes. I did so much research because I failed miserably with my son, and I just told her all these things. Well, as soon as I gave birth to my daughter, I was able to produce enough milk for her to have like a few feedings, which is amazing. I started pumping before I gave birth. So before I went into labor, I was already in the hospital. I knew that I was going to be induced, and I started pumping as soon as I was induced, if I'm not mistaken, just to get my breast milk going. I didn't collect anything, but as soon as I delivered my daughter, I pumped. She was born preemie, so she had to be taken to the NICU right away. And as soon as she was taken to the NICU, I started pumping, and even my nurse was amazed. She said I was like an overachiever or something like that. She made a joke. It was just the cutest thing, and I feel so proud because I had this very large syringe of milk. I mean, and when I say large, it wasn't like this big. It was maybe yay big, but it was still a lot of milk, a lot more milk than most women can collect, unless you just like naturally, because there is a lot of women that just naturally produce a ton of milk. I don't know if that's a genetic thing, actually. I'm not sure. I'm definitely not an overproducer. It doesn't seem like my mom was. She still breastfed my brother and I. Some women produce so much milk that they're able to donate their milk. I was very close to donating my milk with Sophia. That's how successful I was at increasing my milk supply. But anyway, let's see what we've covered so far. So definitely we've covered that you need to have a pumping bra. You need to have a pump. Even if you think that you're going to breastfeed exclusively, that's great. My daughter wasn't exclusively breastfed for the first 2 weeks of her life because she was in the NICU 2 or 3 weeks. But after that, she was pretty much exclusively breastfeeding. She didn't have a lot of strength, so sometimes we did have to give her a bottle, but it was all breast milk. She didn't have any formula until she was close to 12 months, and it was only 2 tubs of breast milk. So definitely get yourself a good breast pump. I highly recommend the Spectra if you can afford it. It's not that expensive. It's about $200. I'll leave you an Amazon link for it, for the one that I used. But also you can buy it used, check OfferUp, check, even Amazon sells it used, I think. And then have yourself also, I forget what it's called. I think it's a Haakaa. No, it's not a Haakaa. I'm not sure, but I'll leave it here. This other, it's supposed to be like something that catches your milk. And this I highly recommend, guys, because if you do actually use this bottle and you put it on that breast while you're nursing your child on the other one, all that milk you collect, it's a lot. You can actually save it in those breast milk bags and freeze it, so that when you are running out of breast milk or thinking that you need to supplement with formula, then you have all this frozen milk. I think it keeps up to 3 months or 6 months depending on how you store it. And it's fantastic because you just go, you grab it you thaw it overnight in the fridge, and then you give it to your baby the next day. So that's another great tip, is don't let all that milk, the letdown, I think it's what it's called, go to waste. Save it, catch it in that cup. I will leave a link for it, and I will also put it in a picture here. Another thing that I recommend you doing is drinking a lot of water. Depending of what part of the world you are from, if you're Latino, then you know that they say drink a lot of atole, which is pretty much flour with water. don't do that to yourself, because no, that is actually not what helps you produce milk. There are some foods that will stimulate breast milk production, but it's definitely not atole, definitely not flour with water. Usually you're gonna do that with bad flours anyway that have been bleached, and I don't recommend. So I would say keep a big bottle of water next to your bed at all times, and also make sure that you're eating often. If you want to increase your milk supply, you need to make sure that at least until you establish a really good milk supply, at least for the first month, you need to pump every 2 hours. After that, or 2 weeks, after that, you can go with 3 hours, but no more than 3 hours. So if your baby is breastfeeding at some point every 4 hours, you should still try to pump. Oh my God, this is a big one, guys. After you breastfeed your baby, make sure that you pump for at least 10 minutes after breastfeeding your baby. I know that your nipples are gonna take a beating. Mine did for my son, for my daughter, but there's a couple of things that I used that really alleviated and helped me. I'll also picture it here for you guys, and I'll leave a link for you, an Amazon link for that as well. These ointments are made out of beeswax, at least the one that I use. If I can find it in Amazon, I bought it at a health food store. I believe I bought it at Sprouts and also at Whole Foods. But if you don't have a Sprouts or Whole Foods nearby, you can get it on Amazon, and it is safe for your baby if your baby digests, which inevitably they will. So yes, your nipples will take a beating, but it will only be for the first month or so. After that, they become very tough, so you can't really feel that as much. Do not get discouraged. Do not give up. A lot of people stop nursing their baby or stop breastfeeding because especially the first 2 weeks are extremely rough, extremely painful. Do not give up. That's the best advice I can give you, is do not give up. To kind of recap, use a breast pump, use a hospital grade breast pump, that definitely matters. Use a breast pump bra, pump every 2 hours without fail. Pump every 2 hours, at least for the first 2 weeks to a month. And then after that, you can go every 3 hours. And even if your baby is one of those magical babies that sleeps for 4-hour stretches or 5-hour stretches when they're just a few weeks old, you still put an alarm and you still pump every 2 hours. I had to do that. Again, if you are nursing your baby on one side, make sure you have something here that's catching your milk. Going back to food, make sure that you're eating, and you're eating often. Also make sure that at least 30 minutes before you pump or nurse your baby, make sure that you drink a ton of water. How much water? You'll have to do the research on that, but I was drinking an insane amount of water. I didn't do a lot of caldos, a lot of soups. You definitely have to drink a lot of fluids. However, in whatever form you may choose to do those fluids, just make sure they are healthy fluids. Water, coconut water. If you want to drink maybe homemade orange juice, you can do that, but I would say stick to water. To teas, there is a tea, it's called mother's milk. It can help you with your milk supply. I drank it for both of my nursing journeys, and I found that at least for the first one, it didn't really make a difference. I feel like a combination of all of these things is what will ensure that you have a successful milk supply. There's not one thing that I can pinpoint and say, this is what I did and this is specifically what helped me. I would not say that. I would say that the combination of all of these things that I've mentioned in this video is what helped me to have a healthier milk supply. Now, if you're halfway breastfeeding, so if your baby's already 4 or 5 months, 6 months, and you're struggling with your milk supply, and now there's this formula shortage, which is so annoying and so scary, you can still bring your milk supply back. You will see that as you're pumping every 2 hours, your milk supply will start to increase. Even if you had a good milk supply and you're failing at it, or failing, and I really don't mean it like you're literally failing, because you are not a failure. You pushed a baby out of your body. Your body fed this baby for 9 months in your belly, or however long you had your baby cooking in there, and then you push this healthy baby out, and now you're having sleepless nights and you are still there and you're showing up. So definitely you're not a failure, even if you choose not to breastfeed your baby. I cannot emphasize that enough. But if you feel like your milk supply has fallen, you can bring it back up. And that's really all I have to say, I hope that I covered all of my main points. This video was an impromptu video, nothing that I sat down to like write down and memorize. So I hope that I was able to really give you some really important information. Formula is definitely not what is best for your child. I've heard crazy things. I've heard people say these crazy things where they say, well, we eat a lot of junk and breast milk is not as healthy, or maybe my child's not going to get enough vitamins because I don't eat a good diet and I think formula is better. Your body doesn't have hydrogenated oils. Your body does not have corn syrup. Your body does not have high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is horrible for your body. It is insane. There's a whole history with high fructose corn syrup, but I can't believe that formulas in the United States, in this country, have corn syrup or corn syrup solids, and they also have high fructose corn syrup, and they have all of these really highly processed oils and all of these chemicals. Your body doesn't have any of that. Your body has minerals and nutrients and vitamins that are so essential for your baby's brain development, for your baby's body development. So please never think that your breast milk is not good enough for your baby unless you're under medication and it's vital for your health and for your well-being, and your doctor has said you cannot breastfeed while you're drinking this medication. Sadly, supplement with formula, but there is really good formula options that I've already shown you here that I've also linked down below. So definitely consider that. Formula is never going to be better than your breast milk. Breast milk is absolutely what your infant needs, but if you cannot supply that, just be sure to buy a good quality formula. Then moving on to the breastfeeding, then you just need to make sure that you increase and create a healthy supply of breast milk. And how you can do that, that's what all this video has been about. I've already given you all of my tips and tricks and the things that I did to increase my milk supply. Start with this. So if you birth your child in the US, you will be given access to a lactation consultant. And if you don't click with your lactation consultant, if you feel like she is not very interested in you, then you should say to whoever is helping you at that time, say, I would like to see a different lactation consultant. It is perfectly okay. Don't worry about hurting their feelings, because your child's health and your child's milk supply is at stake. So do not feel bad to say, I don't feel like I connect with my lactation consultant. I would like to have a different one. And that's perfectly fine. And if they get upset, if you hurt their feelings, so be it. You need to be able to trust this lactation consultant, and you need to be able to get the best advice and the best information and the best wisdom you can possibly get so that you can successfully nurse this baby at least until 12 months. I said it before in this video, and if you are a family member of mine or a friend, then you know how strongly I feel about nursing and how I would have loved to nurse my daughter up until 2 years. For other reasons, not super important, I wasn't able to do that, and it weighs heavy on me every single day. It's so important for the bonding, your mental health as a mom. And all these happy chemicals, I'll put the names here, I can't think of them right now, I've been talking for way too long, but pretty much these chemicals are naturally occurring in your brain when you are breastfeeding, and those chemicals are what keep you pretty much sane. It lowers your chances of having postpartum depression, the postpartum blues, and things like that. So super important for you, super important for your child, for the nourishing of their body, for your mind, for their brain, for you to give them your breast milk. So I hope that this video is of some help to you. I hope that you find some inspiration here. And if you are not a mom who is nursing right now and you watch this video till the end, you are the true MVP, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you for watching this channel. As you know, if you've been watching for a while or if you're new, it's not just about motherhood, it's just about topics that I think are good for everybody, whether you have a child or not, because I do talk about the ingredients of processed foods and I do grocery hauls at least twice a month. I also share my days in the life. So if any of these topics, oh, I'm also a plant lady, so if you didn't notice that, now you know. So I do upload some plant content. Honestly, I noticed my plant content doesn't do too well, so I don't upload it as often because I feel like it might not be interesting to my viewers. But if you do appreciate and like the plant content, then leave me a comment and tell me that you do so that I can keep it coming. And yeah, that's it. If you watch till the end, like I said, thank you so much. I hope if you're new, I hope that you consider subscribing. It would definitely help me to continue to keep motivated and push out these type of videos, but it will also help my channel